Imagine handing over a multi-million-dollar supplier negotiation to an algorithm. Like, you just input your strategic goals, step away from your desk, and come back a few hours later to a fully executed contract.
Which is frankly kind of terrifying for a lot of people to even picture.
Right. But here is the kicker. The algorithm didn't just, secure a better unit price. It automatically factored in a looming port strike halfway across the world.
Wow.
Yeah, it adjusted the delivery timeline, and it hedged against a projected spike in raw material cost, all on its own.
And that scenario right there, I mean, that isn't a pitch for some sci-fi movie. That is the new baseline reality that completely dominated the agenda at this year's ISM World Conference in Denver.
Exactly. And that is exactly our mission for you today. We are taking a deep dive into these massive paradigm shifts revealed at the conference. Because, we're looking at an evolution that has been building over the last decade, really accelerated by global shocks, pandemics, protectionism, all of that.
It really forces you to reconsider what this industry even is anymore. Like, if you look at the 102 sessions we are pulling from today, you are seeing the absolute end of procurement as a transactional back office function.
Yeah, the classic penny-pinching department.
Exactly. The days of someone staring at a spreadsheet, just trying to shave 2 cents off a bulk order of steel to hit some year-to-date savings target, I mean, that entire era is over. Procurement is no longer about just what to buy.
Right. It's become the core engine for business survival. It's entirely focused on how to create value in a very fractured world.
The transition from cost-cutting to value creation is really the through line of all these sessions. But, to understand how the human roles are changing to support that, we really have to dissect the technology making it possible first.
The brain behind the operation, so to speak.
Right. We are seeing a hard pivot from the basic automation we were discussing just, a year or two ago?
Yeah, barely a year ago.
And now they are moving into what they are calling agentic procurement.
Let's actually drill down into that mechanism, because I think a lot of people listening are already familiar with RPA, right? Robotic process automation.
Sure, the standard bot stuff.
Yeah. But the leap from RPA to agentic AI, it seems structural. Like, past automation was kind of like a remote-controlled car. You still had to steer it. You just mapped out a repetitive process, like having a bot copy data from an invoice into a ledger.
Exactly. It's blind execution.
Right. But agentic AI feels entirely different. It's more like a self-navigating drone.
Yeah.
You just give it the GPS coordinates of your business goal, and it calculates the wind, avoids the obstacles, and gets there on its own.
That is a very precise way to look at it, actually. The differentiator here is autonomy and state evaluation. A traditional RPA bot just executes a predefined sequence.
So if a supplier raises a price, the bot just flags it and stops.
Exactly. It throws an error code.
Yeah.
But an agentic AI agent evaluates the actual state of the market. It recognizes the price increase, but then it autonomously pulls in global commodity trends.
Wow, on its own.
Yeah, it analyzes alternative suppliers via API integrations, uses game theory to formulate a counteroffer based on your company's risk tolerance, and initiates a live negotiation.
Okay, wait, but how is it actually negotiating? Like, are we talking about a chatbot writing passive-aggressive emails to a human sales rep?
I mean, in some cases, yes, it generates natural language emails.
Yeah.
But more often, we are moving toward machine-to-machine negotiation.
So bots talking to bots.
Exactly. Your AI agent is communicating directly via API with the supplier's AI agent. They're running, thousands of pricing and delivery simulations against each other in milliseconds.
That's wild, just to find the optimal mathematical overlap between buying parameters and selling margins.
Right. But that fundamentally changes the operational dynamic.
Oh, totally. Because if these algorithms are independently trading and securing contracts at that kind of speed, what does human oversight actually look like? I mean, you can't just have an algorithm hallucinate and accidentally commit the company to a 10-year, billion-dollar iron ore contract.
Well, this is where the governance model completely flips. The human oversight isn't about micromanaging the transaction or reading the back and forth emails anymore. The human manages the system itself.
Setting the guardrails.
Exactly. You're setting the boundary conditions, the absolute maximum risk thresholds, the essential value drivers, the geopolitical red lines. The agent executes within that highly guarded sandbox.
So procurement used to be about managing external vendors, but now it's increasingly about managing internal enterprise data and AI parameters.
You hit the nail on the head.
Okay, so if we have this autonomous intelligence navigating supplier contracts and securing these, mathematically perfect deals, it has to be optimizing for something. But this brings up a massive operational friction point.
The silo problem.
Right. What happens when the AI's optimization conflicts with another department's goals? Like, say the AI secures the cheapest possible contract, but the legal department hates the jurisdiction. Or operations realizes the delivery schedule completely disrupts their manufacturing flow.
Which is exactly why the standalone purchasing department is being dismantled. This was a huge theme, making up about 20% of the agenda. The sessions addressed this under the banner of value-driven orchestration.
Orchestration. Okay.
Yeah, because you can't have a hyper-intelligent AI working in a silo. The procurement function is being structurally redesigned to act as a unified orchestrator, connecting finance, legal, product design, and operations into one continuous feedback loop.
I have to push back on that framework, though, because, companies have been preaching about cross-functional teamwork and breaking down silos for decades.
Oh, sure. It's the oldest corporate cliche in the book.
Exactly. It usually just ends up being another useless weekly sync meeting. The underlying problem has always been incentive structures.
Always.
Finance gets their bonuses for saving cash. Legal gets rewarded for lowering risk. Operations is incentivized by speed. So how does this new orchestration actually solve the human incentive problem?
It solves it by changing the primary metric of success for the entire organization. You are totally right. As long as finance only cares about the lowest visible price tag, silos remain. But orchestration forces the entire company to adopt TCO as the single source of truth.
TCO being total cost of ownership.
Yes. So expanding the definition of cost beyond just the invoice.
Right.
If your AI finds a cheaper component from a supplier halfway around the world, the unit price is lower. Finance is naturally happy. But under a TCO model, the AI also calculates the hidden costs.
Like shipping and stuff.
Shipping, but also what are the incoming tariffs? What are the tax implications? What is the carbon footprint of shipping it across an ocean? And how will that impact the company's emissions taxes next year?
Oh, wow. So suddenly that cheaper component is mathematically proven to be way more expensive for the company as a whole.
Exactly. Orchestration aligns all departments because the AI reveals the entire iceberg, not just the unit price sticking out above the water.
That makes a lot of sense. It aligns the incentives by visualizing the systemic cost.
Yeah.
But let's look at the physical reality for a second here.
Okay.
You can have internal incentives perfectly aligned. You can have an AI orchestrating a beautifully optimized supply chain based on total cost of ownership. But all of that perfect mathematical modeling means absolutely nothing if the factory you are buying from goes underwater in a flash flood.
Or a sudden trade war cuts off your primary shipping lane.
Right, and that is the exact vulnerability that drove the heavy focus on risk and resilience at the conference. That external physical chaos.
It was a massive chunk of the sessions, because it seems like we have crossed a threshold where unpredictable, massive external threats like geopolitical conflicts, severe climate change vulnerabilities, cyber threats, they are no longer black swan events.
No, they're just the Tuesday morning reality. And actually, just to be clear for you listening, when we discuss these conference sessions, modeling out things like the Middle East conflict or new global tariffs, they aren't taking political sides.
No, not at all.
And neither are we. To a supply chain algorithm, a tariff isn't a political statement. It's just a mathematical friction point that has to be routed around. So these geopolitical events are viewed purely as complex variables and supply chain stress tests.
That impartiality is essential to survival, honestly. The supply chain doesn't have a political affiliation. It only knows disruption and flow. And managing that disruption is no longer something you can just, dump on the logistics department when a port closes.
So what's the solution they were pitching?
What we are seeing emerge is the necessity for a cross-functional risk council. Because risk is interconnected, the response must be orchestrated enterprise-wide.
This requires a fascinating shift in corporate psychology, particularly around inventory. For decades, the gold standard was just-in-time manufacturing.
Oh yeah, lean and mean.
Right. Holding extra inventory was viewed as a strict financial liability. It was just dead capital sitting in a warehouse gathering dust. But now, based on the sources, it's being entirely rebranded. It's now considered a strategic buffer.
Yes, and the crucial part is that it is no longer guesswork. Connect this back to the AI orchestration we discussed earlier.
Oh, so the AI manages the buffer.
Exactly. The Cross-Functional Risk Council doesn't just guess how much extra inventory to hold to feel safe. The AI ingests real-time geopolitical variables and basically says, Based on current tariff threats and regional instability metrics, carrying an extra 15% of raw material X is mathematically the most cost-effective insurance policy.
So it ensures production doesn't halt, but you're calculating the exact necessary thickness of that strategic buffer. You aren't just hoarding.
Right, it's precision buffering.
Speaking of variables that dictate long-term cost, let's pivot to one that is arguably the most critical, but is actively being reframed from a risk into a massive competitive opportunity, and that is sustainability.
Ah, yes. The push toward 2027's sustainable hyperintelligence.
Yeah, it's critical evolution because ESG, environmental, social, and governance criteria, has completely graduated from its old role.
It really has. Historically, ESG was treated like a compliance checklist.
Right, it was the eat your vegetables part of the corporate world. It was something regulators made you do or PR demanded. But looking at the frameworks presented in Denver, ESG is now the secret to actual business growth.
It's transitioned into a revenue-generating resource, and the mechanism behind that growth is a new metric they're pushing, total circular value, or TCV.
TCV, okay.
Yeah, so we just talked about moving from the simple unit price to total cost of ownership. TCV is the next evolution of that. It integrates the circular economy directly into your core purchasing goals.
Break that down mechanically for us. How does focusing on circularity actually generate revenue or lower costs? It sounds a bit like corporate jargon.
Think about raw material scarcity. If you negotiate a contract for materials that can be easily recycled and then fed directly back into your own production line in 5 years, you are doing two massive things.
Okay, what's the first?
First, you are lowering your regulatory tax burden today. Second, and more importantly, you're actively hedging against future commodity shocks.
Because you are essentially mining your own past products for future raw material.
Exactly, you become your own supplier, so it completely changes the leverage point in negotiations.
Right. You aren't just asking a supplier who can deliver the widget cheapest by Tuesday. You are analyzing whose widget provides the most resin, total circular value over a 10-year horizon.
Precisely. The companies that master TCV aren't just being environmentally friendly for the sake of it, they are structurally lowering their future operational costs, which makes them dominant in their markets.
Okay, this brings us to the final and, frankly, the most deeply human part of this entire deep dive.
The people.
Yeah. We've established that agentic AI is autonomously negotiating via API. We have established that the company is being orchestrated around TCO and total circular value. The algorithms are calculating the exact size of the strategic buffers based on real-time geopolitical risks.
So, what is actually left for the human managers to do?
Exactly. I mean, are we all just out of a job?
It is the ultimate paradox of the AI age. As our technology becomes hyper-advanced and heavily quantitative, technical hard skills are being commoditized by algorithms.
Right. The AI does the math faster and better.
Exactly. Consequently, the human element has never been more critical, but the required competencies have completely inverted.
The sources break down the specific new skills required by role, and it really provides a roadmap for the future of work. Like, look at procurement managers. They face the most direct threat from agentic AI taking over quoting and pricing. To survive, they have to master what they call negotiation with data.
Right. Because when the AI agent hands you a complex strategy based on millions of data points, you can't just blindly click approve. You have to possess the critical thinking to interrogate the AI's logic.
You have to understand exactly why the algorithm arrived at that conclusion.
Yes. And then you have to possess the soft skills to persuade a skeptical chief financial officer that the AI's long-term TCV strategy is actually better than a short-term cash saving.
That makes sense. It's translation and persuasion. Then you have supply managers, whose new mandate is to build systemic thinking and governance.
They are the ones actually governing the AI parameters and managing those cross-functional risk councils we talked about.
Right. But the role that really caught my eye was the logistics manager, because they are on the absolute front lines of that external physical chaos. Freight rates, driver shortages, port strikes. For them, survival is entirely dependent on utilizing digital twins and AI simulations.
Let's really look at the mechanism of a digital twin because it perfectly encapsulates this entire industry shift. A digital twin is basically a virtual, real-time replica of your entire physical supply chain.
It isn't a static map on a screen.
No, not at all. It is constantly fed by IoT devices like sensors on shipping containers, tracking temperature, or weather satellites, factory output monitors.
So the human logistics manager isn't spending their day frantically calling a trucking company to ask where a shipment is.
Exactly. They are sitting inside this simulation, running Monte Carlo analyses and injecting variables. They ask the system, what if a hurricane closes the port of Miami tomorrow?
And the digital twin instantly calculates the cascading impact on cost, time, and risk across the entire global network.
Yes, it might offer three alternative routes. The human's job isn't doing the complex math to find those routes. The human's job is to weigh those three elements against the company's current strategic goals and make the high-level judgment call on how to pivot.
It's fascinating. As our technology gets more analytical, the skills required from humans are becoming strictly soft. Creative problem solving, persuading stakeholders, presenting a vision. Technical knowledge is no longer enough without the business insight and the deeply human connection required to lead through constant uncertainty.
You manage the machine, but you lead the people.
That's a great way to put it.
Yeah.
Let's synthesize this journey we've just been on for you listening. We have officially watched the death of the back-office, spreadsheet-driven procurement era.
May it rest in peace.
Truly, we've transitioned into an era of value-driven orchestration. We've moved from manual data entry to agentic AI running the central nervous system of the supply chain. We've seen ESG transform from a compliance headache into a growth engine through total circular value.
And because of all of that, we're seeing a mandatory upgrade in human leadership skills, moving from reactive firefighters to predictive strategists.
And as we step back and look at this massive transformation, it leaves us with a provocative question, something I think every professional really needs to chew on.
Yeah, if autonomous algorithms are now handling the repetitive negotiations, the complex data modeling, and the real-time routing, will the procurement leader of the future look less like a traditional supply chain manager and more like a global diplomat or a visionary architect?
That is the exact question to ask yourself.
Yeah.
Because the operator who defined their worth by shaving pennies off a static invoice, they're obsolete. The leader running the simulation, navigating geopolitical variables, and defining the boundaries of AI governance, that is the new reality. We highly encourage you to look at your own industry and your own role through this lens of total value and agentic AI.
Ask yourself how you can evolve from a transactional operator to a true orchestrator.
Well said. Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive, and we will catch you on the next one.